Okay, so now we have questions and answers in terms of how to do the weft. I'm just going to fill up the machine so that we have less noise. This one is also shut off. Okay, so this is the weft, and let's go with the question.
Okay, what about the, how do you get the weight to 3.5 or 4 ounces?
Okay, so how do you establish that you have the proper weight per weft, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what you do is you order the hair wholesale. So imagine you have a kilo of loose hair. You need to get a scale. The scale that you're going to get is a postal scale that you can get from Office Depot or Staples, about $30. And you get a basket or a plastic box or a paper plate, a container. And you put the container on your scale and you press on tare, T-A-R-E, and you wait until you have it to 0. That means that it's 0 with the basket on it. You can get like a, just simple basket or a container, any container that you like. And what you do is you're going to prepare the hair. If you work with single drawn hair, remember double drawn, single drawn? Whether you work with double drawn hair or single drawn hair, you're going to work with that hair. You're going to take a bundle and you're going to put it on the scale. If you want to have 4 ounces of hair on the weft, when you finish your weft, you're going to put just a teeny bit more than 4 ounces. And you're going to put it into an elastic bundle. So I would even say 4.1, especially when you start, because you might lose hair when you manipulate hair, etc. And I like to be always like a little bit more. It says in the Bible, you have to be very careful. If somebody buys 4 ounces, you can't give 2 hair less than 4. So I always give more. When I sell hair, anything, I always like 4.1. If it's a kilo, I give a kilo and 100 grams rather than 999 point something.
Mm-hmm.
So I would do like this. Take 4.1. You put it on the scale. You remove it from the scale. You take that and you make a bundle out of it. And then you take another portion of hair and you separate it so that you have prepared loose bundle of the quantity you want on the weft with a little bit extra, always a little bit extra. If the hair is double drawn, you're going to prepare bundles of 4.1 double drawn hair. If the hair is single drawn hair, finish, you want to have a single drawn weft, 4.1 single drawn hair. When you're finished doing your stitches and everything, you take the bundle and you put it on the scale. So of course you're putting thread, and the thread adds, but it's almost nothing. It's really not determinate. What you're doing is 3 stitches with the double needle and 3 stitches with the single needle. Okay? Now another thing is, if after you do the whole technique, you see that the hair is shedding a little bit, what you can use is a freight check that you can get from Walmart, and you brush a small line of freight check on both sides, and this is going to keep the hair, and it doesn't leave much of a residue as long as you do it appropriately, just a few drops on a very thin line. And this is for the question of the wefting in terms of the weight. The second question you asked previously is a very interesting question. Why is it that some hair come on double wefts, right? That's a very good question. The reason it comes on double weft is that, as I showed you on the 2-needle machine, you have under the needle what I call teeth, which are sections that are grabbing the hair into the stitch. And you can't push more than this portion can carry on. So if you were to want like real super density heavy wefts, what you would need to do is 2 wefts and then sew the 2 of them together. And it's very popular with the package hair from the from the beauty store. Mm-hmm. Okay, if you want a very thin weft, you are able to regulate into a thin weft by pushing less hair at a time. Just make sure that you don't have a gap that would be just empty. And if you do happen to have a gap on the first or on the second stitch, what you do is on the following stitch, take a portion of hair and sew it at the placement of the gap. And if it happens to be that you realize on your 3rd stitch that you have a gap, you can do an additional stitch. You can always do an additional stitch, but the minimum is going to be 3 and 3. Okay, now the next question was? Okay, the next question that you ask is, if you are currently buying hair that you like, but you don't like the weft, first of all you have to measure, is it worth it? If you have to redo the weft, is it worth it? Keep in consideration that once you redo the weft, the hair is going to be shorter. But really what you would do is to cut the weft off and redo the weft from scratch. Another shortcut that would happen sometimes, it's hard for me to tell because I don't see the weft, you have to try first, would be to take the current weft and to sew a few times with the single needle machine in order to reinforce it. The only way to know if it works or not is to do 2, 3, 4, 5 times and pull on the hair and make sure that it doesn't shed. When you get to the point that it doesn't shed, that means you did a good job.
And you're going to lose some. You're going to always have some shedding.
You should not have a lot of shedding.
Not a lot, but
no.
A few hairs.
A little bit at the beginning.
Okay.
It's like when you do anything with the hair, at the beginning you have some hair that's not exactly cut and not exactly out, that will tend to come out. But after this initial hair is, is gone and fell off, you shouldn't have any problem. And by the way, one of the reasons I tell you that the machines should both be set to the shortest stitch possible is because it has a better grip on the hair, as opposed to a larger stitch, like a wider stitch, where the hair in the middle of that stitch would be shifting up and down. When you have very short stitches, the hair is grabbed in very, very nicely. Any other question, feel free to call me at 443-447-1880. If you want to take the wig making course, I'd be really happy to teach you everything you learn about how to create, repair, design any hairpiece, chemotherapy wigs, shapel, etc. And the website again is www.customshapel.com or learnlacefront.com or brasshair.com, and we sell the best European, Peruvian, Brazilian hair from South America. We give you wholesale prices and offer you the possibility of distributorship in your area and even exclusivity. Okay, so call me. Thank you.